People often say family can be your greatest blessing or your worst headache. I always thought I'd lucked out when I married into a seemingly kind and well-mannered family. But that illusion shattered the moment my wife's brother decided to pull the most ridiculous, audacious stunt of his life. He tried to sell my Ferrari, and he had no idea that I was the head of the car registration department. What happened next? Let's just say he learned a lesson he'll never forget. It all started on a humid Tuesday afternoon. I had just returned from an out-of-town vehicle inspection conference and parked my blood-red Ferrari California T in the garage, the one I'd spent years restoring, piece by piece. That car was more than just a car. It was a symbol of everything I'd worked for. Every bolt, every coat of paint, every sound the engine made, it was mine. And my wife, Lena, knew just how much it meant to me. We had no kids, but that car was my baby. Her brother Raza, though, he was a different story. 32, jobless by choice, and constantly borrowing money from everyone around him. He had a magnetic smile and a talent for getting what he wanted without ever lifting a finger. Every time he visited our home, I noticed him eyeing the Ferrari like it was some grand prize waiting to be claimed. That week, Lena had gone to visit her mother, and Raza showed up uninvited, as usual. I was working late hours, and he told me he just needed a place to crash for a couple nights. I didn't think much of it. I'd hidden the keys, and the car was locked. But I should have known better. 3 days later, I came home earlier than usual and noticed something off. The garage door was slightly open. My stomach sank. I walked over, and, just as I feared, the Ferrari was gone. At first, I thought it had been stolen. My hands trembled as I reached for my phone to call the police. But then I checked the security cameras, and there he was, Raza, wearing my sunglasses and grinning like a movie villain, sliding into the driver's seat like he owned the damn car. He even waved at the camera before backing out, like he knew exactly what he was doing. I paused the video and stared at the screen. This wasn't just stupidity. This was betrayal, and it wasn't going to go unpunished. I didn't call the police. Not yet. Instead, I called my friend Ralph, who worked under me in the department. I gave him a very specific set of instructions: trace the car, flag the VIN, and notify every certified dealership in the area. If anyone even tried to get it appraised or sold, I'd know in minutes. Meanwhile, I called Lena. At first, she didn't believe me. Raza wouldn't do that, she said. He doesn't even have a driver's license. Watch the footage, I told her and hung up. 2 hours later, she was blowing up my phone, apologizing and sobbing. She said she'd never seen this side of him before, and that she'd try to get the car back quietly. But I wasn't about to let it go quietly. The next morning, I got an alert from the system. Someone had submitted forged ownership papers for the Ferrari at a dealership 2 towns over. The document listed Raza's name as the owner, with my signature crudely faked at the bottom. He had actually tried to register my car under his name. And this was where the fun began. I drove straight to the dealership in my spare car, walked in wearing my badge, and asked to speak to the manager. I showed him my credentials, the forged papers, and the original title and registration, which, of course, were in my name and flagged for theft. They were shocked. They said the owner was due back in an hour to finalize the appraisal. Perfect. So I waited. And like clockwork, Raza strolled in wearing a knockoff blazer and that same smirk. He didn't even see me at first. He walked up to the desk and said, "So, are we closing this deal or what?" Then I stepped out from behind the office glass. His jaw dropped. I didn't yell. I didn't raise my hand. I just looked him dead in the eyes and said, "This car is officially registered as stolen, and you're the one who stole it." The dealership staff backed away, unsure what was happening. Raza started to stammer, claiming I had given him the car as a gift, that he was just handling the sale for me while I was busy. I pulled out the security footage, the real registration papers, and the alert history from our internal system. Then I dropped the hammer. I could arrest you right now for auto theft, forgery, and fraud. But I'm going to give you one option: walk out of here, leave town, and never come near my property again. You've got 5 minutes. He looked around, eyes wide, probably expecting someone to jump to his defense. But no one did. He turned pale, muttered something about misunderstanding, and left without another word. I got my car back, of course. Had to wipe down every surface just knowing he sat in it. Lena didn't speak to him for months. The whole family was shaken. Apparently, I wasn't the only one he'd tried to take advantage of. But the best part? A month later, I received a formal inquiry from another department. Someone had reported Raza for forging vehicle ownership documents in a different case. I didn't have to do a thing. His stunt with my car had exposed a trail of fraud he thought he'd gotten away with. And while he faced investigation and potential jail time, I took my Ferrari out for a drive. Top down, wind in my hair, not a single regret in sight. You'd think that after nearly getting arrested, Raza would have learned his lesson. But parasites don't stop feeding until they're completely cut off. What I didn't know then was that my warning hadn't scared him off. It had only bruised his ego. And bruised egos don't heal quietly. They scheme. They wait. And when they think you're distracted, they strike again. This time, it wasn't just my car he was after. It was my reputation, my marriage, and everything I had built. A few weeks had passed since the dealership confrontation. Lena and I were slowly regaining our peace. She had started seeing a therapist to process the betrayal from her own brother, and I spent more evenings at home, away from the madness of city paperwork. But I still kept tabs on Raza. Quietly, I had flagged his ID in our system, added background alerts on his national driving record, and notified a few friends in the fraud unit to keep an ear out. If he tried anything car-related again, I'd know. One evening, as I was sitting in the garage polishing the rims of the Ferrari, Lena came in holding her phone. Her face was pale. "You need to see this," she said. It was a social media video. Raza had posted a video rant, filmed from what looked like a cheap rented car. In it, he claimed that I had stolen the Ferrari from their family, that the car had always belonged to his late father, and that I was using my position in the government to forge documents and frame him. He painted himself as the poor, innocent brother trying to reclaim a family heirloom. The video had already gained thousands of views and dozens of sympathetic comments. It was calculated, manipulative, dangerous. I didn't panic. I knew the truth was on my side. But perception? That was harder to control. And when you're a government official, public image matters more than people think. I couldn't ignore this. He wanted to provoke me, to bait me into a public fight. But I had a better plan. First, I contacted a digital forensics friend of mine, Zara. She quickly traced the metadata of Raza's video and confirmed it was filmed on a burner phone registered under a fake name, using an internet cafe's public Wi-Fi. He was hiding his digital footprint. Amateur move. Within hours, we had located the source address and even tracked where the burner phone was purchased. Meanwhile, I arranged a quiet press briefing with my department's internal communications officer. I laid out all the evidence, security footage, document trails, registration logs, timestamps, and even the dealership's testimony. I didn't need to shout my innocence from rooftops. I just needed the right people to see the facts. But the next twist caught even me off guard. One morning, I arrived at work to find two investigators from an anti-corruption task force waiting at my office door. Apparently, an anonymous complaint had been filed claiming that I was abusing my position for personal gain, namely, to confiscate high-end vehicles for myself. It was ridiculous, but still, it triggered an internal audit. That's when I realized what Raza was really after. He didn't want the car anymore. He wanted to ruin me. He figured if he couldn't steal my Ferrari, he'd destroy the man who owned it. Maybe he thought he could scare me out of my job, pressure me into handing it over, or make enough noise that I'd be forced to settle just to shut him up. But what he didn't know was that I'd already prepared for this exact play. I handed the investigators everything: emails, log sheets, service records, departmental protocols I'd followed, internal permissions I'd obtained. Everything was by the book. I even showed them the complaint against Raza I'd quietly filed weeks ago, detailing his forged documents and attempted registration fraud. By the time they left my office, they were more interested in him than me. Still, I wasn't done. I wanted closure. So I did something I knew would sting deeper than any legal threat. I invited Raza to a private mediation meeting, neutral territory, public space, all recorded. Lena was there, silent but watchful. I slid a folder across the table, every piece of evidence, printed and organized. And then I said, "This isn't about a car anymore. It's about you lying, stealing, and dragging your own sister through hell. You want forgiveness? You'll confess, on video, that you lied about everything. Publicly." He laughed at first, but when I told him that if he didn't, I'd press full criminal charges and make sure every dealership, loan agency, and leasing company in the region had his name flagged as a fraud risk, the color drained from his face. I wasn't bluffing. I never had to. After a long pause, he agreed. We filmed the video right there. His full confession, an apology to me and Lena, and a retraction of every lie he'd spread. I posted it to the same platforms he used. Within 24 hours, the tide turned. Comments flipped, support vanished, and his fake narrative crumbled. But I didn't stop there. I contacted my attorney and filed a civil suit, not for damages, but for a court-ordered restraining order. I didn't want revenge. I wanted distance. I wanted peace. And most importantly, I wanted Lena to know that protecting her didn't mean enabling him anymore. That night, she cried in my arms, not from sadness, but from relief. Raza eventually left town, crawling back to a distant cousin's house 3 provinces away. I haven't heard from him since. But sometimes, I still find myself checking the garage security feed before I go to sleep. Not because I'm afraid, but because I know how fast trust can be broken, even by family. The Ferrari still sits in the same spot, gleaming in the sunlight. It's more than just a car now. It's a trophy, a reminder, a lesson, that no matter how clever someone thinks they are, you can't outmaneuver someone who already knows every road you'll take before you turn the key. If you made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for more real, intense stories just like this one.